This is the 217 Recovery Podcast with Corey Winfield.
You know, they did me wrong. They did me dirty. They made me drink. But I'm not a baby. I'm not a kid.
And co-host Marney Winfield.
You know, you can be pretty sure that the decision that you made was the right one. God kind of paved the way for what was supposed to happen, I feel.
It is the 11th of August, 2023. My name's Corey Winfield.
My name's Marney Winfield.
This is the 217 Recovery Podcast, live from Seattle, but we're not even live. We're recording, but that's fine because we're live when we're doing it, right?
Right.
That's how that works.
Yes.
It's very confusing. People ask us often, is your podcast live? Yeah, kind of.
For the most part.
Yeah. But nobody would be tuning in right now. It's
coming to you sort of live.
8:40 on the West Coast, so 11:40.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, tune in at 11:40 on Friday. Make sure you're listening. Yeah, nobody's going to do that.
No.
Beauty of the podcast. But yeah, we're in Seattle, and it's been a minute since we've talked last.
Mm-hmm.
Since then, we've been on so many adventures. I'm glad to say that I'm still alive.
Yes.
I'm not died yet.
No.
You have this look in your eye, Marnie.
No,
you
you're still going
people,
strong.
Yeah, this look. She's like, I'm going to get you.
No.
Got one more day.
No, he's doing great.
Oh, it's horrible. But we'll get to that in just a minute. We have done so many fun things too. And let's start with so we went to tour the stadium. Did we talk about that already?
No.
Oh.
We've not.
Well,
We haven't. It's the last time we checked in. It was
Monday.
Had just told them about the virtual wings over Washington, and then the.
Okay. So let's rewind. Back to Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
We went to Lumen Stadium.
Yes.
Lumen Field. I still don't know which one it is. I don't know.
It's Field. I'm pretty sure.
Is it?
Mm-hmm.
Lumen Field, where the Seattle Seahawks play. They play football there.
Mm-hmm.
They had a game last night, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about Tuesday. We went on a tour, and it wasn't bad. It was $25 per person.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a reasonable price. It was like an hour and a half long,
mm-hmm.
and we got to see the stadium. Some really cool stuff. We got to go in the press box. And I thought it was really funny because the lady, when she was talking about, because I asked her, I was like, where does, Monday Night Football do their thing? And they're like, oh, that's in the other room, because we went into like the radio room,
mm-hmm.
or the journalists, like the media, the newspaper people sit.
The library, she called it.
Yeah, because everybody has to be quiet in there. And so then we went to where Monday Night Football and all the broadcasting stuff does. And she's like, and here's where Joe Buck and Troy Aikens, that's not his name, sits. But when I listened to the ticket out of Dallas, favorite radio station in the world, they will have guests on or whatever, and sometimes they're fake, and they always call him, yeah, Troy Aikens, he's just because they're like, that's what people in the South call him,
mm-hmm.
instead of Aikman.
Mm.
Troy Aikens. They just, I don't have a hard time with that last name. So when she said that, I kind of like, inside, like, had like a little ticket moment. I'm like, oh, like, that's what they call him.
Mm-hmm.
And then another guy asked a question. He was like, okay, so that's where Troy Aikman sits? And she's like, oh, yep. That's where Troy Aikman sits. And I was like, oh, she had a hard time with it even. Troy Aikman sounds so much better.
Mm-hmm.
But it was pretty cool. We got to go to the 12th man spot.
Yep.
And we're like, this is where they raise the flag.
I did not know that. The 12 thing. That no player has number 12.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
That's why Tom Brady wouldn't play there. Not really, but they probably changed it for him because he's the greatest of all time.
Hmm.
Just saying. No man crush here. So then we went. Should we talk about the ride there first? A little bit scary because we talked about scary rides already.
Mm-hmm.
The guy almost plowing over that guy on the
So
scooter.
are you going to incorporate this into like your top 5 moments of this trip?
Maybe.
Or okay.
We're going to do top 5 moments and like bottom 5 moments, or because we didn't want to be negative with it, but not so favorite moments.
Yeah. Well, this kind of is on the same note here, is that was kind of like one of my bottom-ish things with the trip, is that the Ubers were like kind of not the most comfortable situations in the world. I mean, like the rides themselves, and it kind of expensive, to get like 5 miles away. But it's not even like I'm not willing to walk 5 miles. Like that's not even the thing. It's like it would be 5 miles that felt like 30 miles is the problem.
Yeah, because
So their 5 miles is equivalent to like wearing on your body 30 miles, pretty much.
yeah,
And it's not doable. It's just not doable.
you're like, oh, I could walk 5 miles around the track. Mm-hmm. Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Now, can you walk 5 miles up a hill around the track?
And then you don't know where you are because there's so many levels. So you get lost when you're literally like 400 feet away from something, but it's like not 400 feet away of steps. It's like forward moving steps. It's like on a different level of the planet.
Yeah.
And you don't know, and you can't see it where you're going. And so you just got really frustrated.
I wanted to curse pizza.
Oh my gosh.
I never thought I would ever do that.
He was so irritated.
It's like a maze, and it's not a fun game to play when you just walked 80,000 miles up a hill carrying food and water for everybody on the planet. And then you're like, okay, and you look at your phone and it's like, okay, it's just around this corner. And then you go around the corner and there's a wall. And you're like, okay, so are we going up a hill or down a hill? Like what level of this hill is this place at? Like,
And then it's like you don't want to commit.
And like
you're like, I think it's down the steps, but you don't know. But you hate to go down the steps if it's really not. So you keep going down the ramp, and then you end up on another street that doesn't have a way to get down to the level that you need to be on. It was kind of like a trap. It felt trapped.
Yeah, I thought that sounds like she's doing it now. She's got her plan. It's coming to fruition or whatever that word is. I can't say right
Fruition?
now. Fruition? Yeah.
No, it was not.
I was like, this is it. This is how I'm going. And then let's go to the gum wall. I'm like, yeah, let's go to the gum wall.
We did. We did see the gum wall.
Which was weird, but that was a whole different day. So Tuesday, though, let's go back there and then we'll get into the rest.
Gotcha.
So Tuesday, we go to Lumen Field. That was cool. The Uber driver was awkward. She was from Pakistan, I believe. Mm-hmm. And we get in, and she starts like bumping this country music. And the guy's like talking about drinking beer, just regular old country song. And you're like, this music is weird. And I'm like, yeah, I know. But she was stereotyping us. This happens to, I know it happens to black people. Tyrone tells me it happens to him all the time. Where people will stereotype them. And people stereotype white people too. And that's what she was doing. Like she's looked at my picture on the Uber thing.
From the Michigan driver's license?
No, maybe. Or whatever picture I had on my stupid Uber thing. And just thought, oh, this white guy, fat, probably drinks beer and likes country music. Let's turn on country music. Little does she know I'm in recovery, and I hate country music. But I didn't say nothing to her. I just wanted her to focus on driving because she was having a real hard time. I get it because I used to do Uber. You don't always take the route that it tells you, but she kept passing route after route that was suggested. And I'm like, okay. And she's not making up time. We're actually losing time. Mm-hmm. So I was like, okay, well, we got to make it there. And we're supposed to be there half hour before. And it was like a quarter till. I'm like, oh, shit. Like, are we going to make this? Because we got burned almost on the way out here.
Yeah.
On something like that. So it's like, okay, well, kind of getting nervous. And then she pulls up, even though it tells her where the F to go. And it says Lumen Stadium, Lumen Field, whatever. She rolls up to the baseball stadium, which is called like, I don't know, something else.
I don't know either.
I can't.
But they're right next to each other. So it worked out all right. But I'm like, this is not where we're going.
It's a good mile down the road, but because the stadium's so big. But yeah, she just like rolls up in there. Like, and it doesn't even say drop your person off here. She's just like, oh, well, here's something big and looks like there's athletes or something. So this is it. We're like, no. And she's like, what? So then she like halfway goes out into the road. Like she's going to make a turning lane. Meanwhile, there's construction going on. This construction guy is looking like, this lady's going to hit me. And you kept telling her, no, because it looked like she was going to make a U-E.
It did.
And you're like, no, go down that road, that alley. What? What did you do that? And I'm like, I don't know what's going on here. And I just figured if I was talking to her, that would really confuse her. So
I had to put my hand in front of her face
she's
to
like,
point where to go.
Yep. And she goes like making this like turnaround motion. And you're like, no, down that alley. Oh, yep. And the construction guy was like, this lady's going to hit me. I saw him. He was like, I got to watch this lady because this is not going to end well. So she rolls past him. He jumps out of the way at the last minute, falls down like this hole. And we didn't have time to help him because we were late for our tour, So we got up there, we got out, and
That
everything.
didn't happen, so.
Got up, it was
Just
fun.
so people know.
We got up
Nobody
there.
got hurt. Nobody fell in a hole.
Made it through security, which is always nice. And
Mhm.
the lady who took us around the tour, she was really nice too. And it was a good time. After that, where did we go? Did we go walk some more? Or did we come back here?
We went to Beneath the Streets.
Oh, no. We went to the Space Needle.
No, we got dropped off at the Space Needle.
Oh, we did Beneath the Streets after Lumenfield?
Yeah. We walked to...
I thought we did two of the walking. Yeah, I guess we did, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we did do more walking. That's why I blocked it out of my memory. That's what your brain will do that. If you've been through traumatic experiences sometimes, it'll just block it out.
Yeah, this was called... It was actually there's a couple different... actually, I think there's only two different agencies that rent the space that is on the underground of Seattle, which we can go into the whole thing. It's really interesting. This whole city was burned to the ground at one point in history, and so it was rebuilt. They built it up higher because of the sea level, blah, blah, blah. That's the short and dirty version. Anyhow, most of it was filled in, the majority of it, like 95% of all of that was filled in. But there's still some spaces that still exist. Some of them are modeled for use, but not many. And so for whatever reason, these two companies, like kind of like a historical society, sort of, but leases the space underneath the buildings that has not been either filled in or remodeled. That's just like in kind of the most, I guess, original version which means like nothing was done really. I mean, it wasn't filled in, but it wasn't fixed, but it's still secured to be like, so it's not going to collapse. And they rent that out to these agencies, and then tourists or what have you can go and walk through and hear the story of the city. So that was very cool. The underground tour. And then there was another agency or another place that's called Beneath the Streets. Yeah. I liked that tour.
And then we went to eat, and then we came home? I don't remember. No. Then we went to... It wasn't the same day, was it? Yeah, because it was like my day, wasn't... How do we do Beneath the Streets on my day? That was crazy. Because then we went to this other... It was like a film festival type thing, where they're showing like independent little sketches and films and videos, and it was pretty cool. At first it was awkward as shit because we got the VIP passes because we're VIP people, so we're in the VIP, which doesn't mean anything except we had good seats, sort of, but people kept walking in front of us the whole time, so it was, again, kind of annoying. But when we got there, we're the only ones there. I started talking to this guy who takes pictures or something, and I don't know. It was just awkward. It was like at a bar, so like it was like a scene that we probably would have been into had we been drinking or smoking weed, back in the day, which made us feel kind of like not really feeling comfortable here. Mm-hmm. It's not what we do anymore. And then we see this lady, or you actually pointed out, you saw a little merch table. And it had Narcan on it. Same little boxes we had back in Michigan. Yeah. And you're like, wait, what? And so we went over there and we started talking to this woman. And I'm hoping, and she said she would, but I want to have her on the podcast. Her name's Millie Jigamayan or something. Maybe you can do better with that. It's quite the name.
Wow, that's a tongue twister.
Well, she started the Fentanyl United Crisis Coalition, which is FUCC. And then,
Fentanyl United Crisis Coalition is what the agency is called that she started. And it's Millie Jigamian.
Yep.
She's the founder, CEO, and she lost a child to fentanyl overdose.
20
years old.
She's 20 years old.
But her message was really, really amazing. She comes from a very real place and a very real perspective. her messaging is not anywhere close to being like, stop using drugs or drugs are bad. It's more like awareness, overdose awareness more than anything else, and harm reduction. And, I think she's kind of come to terms with the fact that she recognizes that people are going to do what people are going to do. And she's not trying to judge anybody's lifestyle or decisions or choices, but that most of, I don't know percentages, but most overdoses are accidental. Very rarely do people overdose on purpose. It does happen. That is a real thing too, but very more often than not, there was no intention to actually die. It was just use that they're unaware of what's in it, or they took too much, or a handful of things that could go wrong. And her message was very much, be ready, be prepared to save somebody's life if you need to. Like, this is something that is out there. And if people are actively using drugs, be prepared to save their life if necessary.
Yeah. And it was an interesting message. And I guess she knew her audience, and I don't know if her message changes to the audience, but the people that were there, I would say 99% of them were on something.
Yeah.
And the only reason that it wasn't 100% is because me, you, and maybe this Millie lady were there. Everybody was. I
think even the guy from the Department of Health and Human Services.
Yeah, it was Stone.
Kingstown. Oh, he was something.
There was something going on. And I brought up to him about
that fentanyl is in marijuana.
Yeah, and he was like, I've never heard of that, which is crazy, because then fast forward to Thursday night, we're at a comedy club, and the comedians up there like, yeah, I just had some weed, with some fentanyl in it or whatever. And
yeah, he said fentanyl laced kush.
Yeah. So I'm like, okay, so how does a guy from the state not ever heard of this, but yet comedian? I mean, it's so common that comedians are making jokes about it, So it's like, wake up, Washington. You're on notice. Who was that? Kurt, or is it? Who was putting people on notice? It was on the Daily Show. Or was it the late night guy? Anyway, I stole that from him. So whatever. It was a good time though, and it turned out to be kind of fun and interesting, and watching the films and stuff that people make. And I'm thinking to myself, like, there's some videos I made that I could have put in there.
Oh yeah,
and it would have been just fine.
Yeah.
But we left at intermission because it was, I don't know, after 9, and that means it's after midnight, and we still had to walk home. So it was like, well, we better get to getting. But I talked to the dude that put it on and was like, hey man, thanks for doing what you do for people who are starting out in the.
Are you going to tell them what was in our VIP bag?
We got some popcorn. We got a couple flasks.
We got flasks in our VIP bag. We're like, yeah, thanks, but no thanks. He's like, did you get the flasks? We're like, did you not hear the fact that we just said we are people in recovery? But
he didn't understand.
He didn't. Yeah.
And that's back to the Millie lady and her audience, like, that was clear, her message, because if she had went up there and been like, don't do drugs, you guys are, people would have been like, get off stage, don't come back. But she said, look, I'm not saying don't do drugs. I'm saying do drugs safe.
Mm-hmm.
And like people, I guess they do like, oh, give her finger snaps because they don't clap anymore or something. I don't know. I'm so behind other times. I clap because that's what I do.
Yeah.
I don't cancel people. I just don't like them and don't mess with them anymore. Like, I don't know. Like, this whole scene nowadays, I'm not hip to, but there's like, yeah, give us some snaps. And I think that was a very good approach for that, because if she would have went there, like I said, with the Corey Winfield method of everybody put your drugs down, stop doing them, let's make people laugh, it probably wouldn't have worked. But the fact that she had that approach, to that audience, and they were all like, yeah, do drugs safe, and she's like, test your stuff and do this and do that. And it was just a different message, but at the same time, it was a message of safety and definitely of like harm reduction, because we don't want people dying. And, the old school people are like, well, they shouldn't be doing drugs then. Well, that's not how it works, man. And if you have a loved one out there, you don't know what they're going to do. I don't know what I'm going to do at the end of today, like, you just never know. So it's better to have them be safe and be educated on what's going on. And
it really kind of made me think about like, we're very biased in our thoughts and feelings about drugs and alcohol, right? Because we know what it's capable of, and we know how it can just take you over.
We're lucky to be alive.
Lucky to be alive. Absolutely.
Straight up.
Now, that does not mean that there's not people out there that do partake in their drugs and alcohol in a normal way, right? Like, they go to a bachelor party in Vegas and they do cocaine or whatever, but they don't go home and buy cocaine. They don't got a coke dealer at home. You know, they don't even ever do it. They just happen to partake in that activity at that time. And there are people like that. Those are people that do that, and that's, you know, that's fine. That's their own decisions. And weed is very big here. Well, it was with that crowd, at least. Which has never been my thing. And so, like I said, I mean, it's hard for me to wrap my head around the whole concept of that. As coming from myself, right? As like that being a message that would be like any sort of that I could absorb and be like, okay, like this is where I'm at. I just need to learn how to use it safely. That was not something I could do. I couldn't, because I am an alcoholic and an addict. And so, that being said, that's not meaning that those people don't need to hear that message and that it's not important, because it really is.
Yeah, I thought so. I thought it was very, very cool the way she did that, you know, and it's like, we think our strategy is a little bit, but I mean, it's what crowd you're talking to. And her message is, and kind of, she puts on a t-shirt, which is very awesome. It's FUCC fentanyl. So it's clear her message is against that, and not, hey, be clean and sober. Hey, don't drink. Hey, don't do drugs. It's no. Don't do that one. Make sure you're not dying from that one. And that's a very strong message that, you know, I hope her the best, and hope, you know, success happens for her, and she can save a lot of lives and at least educate people to talk about it, you know, like we're doing right now.
Do you remember the other girl that was there that we spoke with briefly? And she was basically saying that heroin doesn't even exist anymore on the streets.
Yeah.
That almost everything is fentanyl or something else. That it's not heroin.
Yeah. Yep. That's what she said. At least here. But it's drugs, man. They're everywhere. But we'll have Millie on the podcast. You have to be on that with us, honey. So from there, you know, like I said, it was good night. Walked back home. Went to bed. Then when did we go to the Space Needle? Was it the next day? Or did we already talk about the Space Needle?
I think it was the next day.
Yeah.
Or was it the day before? I don't know. It's a big blur.
Just all hills and sweat. Like, where were we? Was it the gum wall? Where we walked back from? I don't think that was the same day as my day. I think that's confused. Because we went to let's talk about the aquarium. All right, first of all, let's talk about aquariums in general. Don't go to them. It's a waste of time.
That's not true.
Let the school take the kids. There's a reason why you send your kids to school. It's so that they can take them on field trips. That way you don't have to. Because whoa, Marty, just has your mouth open like, whoa, you did not just say that. Just speaking Corey Winfieldisms over here. I'm just saying, there was so many other people's kids there. It was driving me nuts. Other people's kids, man. When you got bunches of them and oodles of them, it's not even school time. You tell me what's going on.
The Boys and Girls Club was there. Every I'm not gonna lie, it was not a good experience. That does not mean I'm sure it's not a great aquarium. It is. And it's not, I don't know if you can even say, like, if you've been to one, you've been to them all. I've been to a lot of aquariums in my life. And it's I bet you if there was half the amount of people / children in the space, it would have been more enjoyable, because like literally you walk in and it was lunchtime and there was children, like the whole carpet was just full of kids, like sitting like cross-legged, eating their bagged sandwiches.
Or standing right in your way with peanut butter and jelly sandwich all over their face.
there was children everywhere, and nothing against kids. It was just like there was it was everything. Then there's the people, the counselors or camp counselors or whatever, like all yelling at the children, trying to like round them up, and so it was not an enjoyable time at all. It was like kind of like, let's get through this as best we can and say we did it. I liked the sea otters.
They had like 2 sea otters, and they were cleaning the cage. So they moved them to this other thing. Or whatever.
They were so cute.
Yeah,
sea otters.
It just was not I wouldn't recommend it. I would say just skip that and go do something else. Because, yeah, it wasn't that great. And then we walked all the way across town up about 16 hills, equivalent to 18.6 miles into the math of my phone, to the art museum.
Yes.
So we walked to this art museum, this hoity-toity, pristine art museum. I'm drenched in just sweat from everywhere. And I get there, my back's hurting. I mean, it's just like, come on, man. Like, this is crazy. And we go through that, and then that's when we're going to go find the pizza place. Let's find this pizza place. And the museum was cool, though. It was all right.
Yeah, I enjoyed that.
You know? It was all right. But then the pizza place, like that excursion was totally like just... Like, imagine you're just standing there in line for something, and somebody just comes up and hits you in the back of the head with a bat. That is the equivalent of searching for this pizza place. Like, if you gave me options, I'd be like, I don't know which one I'd rather do. Screw it. But it was hell, man. And then we're just like, F it, let's go home. We ran through the gum wall by accident, pretty much. So like, yeah, let's get some pictures. That's cute. Let's get out of here. And we were walking home, and I was like, man, I think I said on the way home, maybe I didn't. It's like, all I need to do is just be eating a fish sandwich right now. Because, like, here's everything I hate. I hate being hot. The other people's kids. My back hurts. Yeah, and there was like 4 or 5 other things. It was like everything I hated. You might as well just give me a fish sandwich. I'll be good. And to really complete the trifecta. Just the stuff I hate. It was a wonderful time to be hating on stuff. Yeah, so sorry to bum you out, Seattle, but it was horrible. Then we ended up the next day, I think, going to the comedy show, and we went to someplace else. Where was that at yesterday? Was it just eating the comedy show?
We stayed. We were in the room for most of the day.
Yeah, it's beautiful. My body needed a rest.
We were going to go to the Museum of Pop Culture, but we didn't.
Well, we're doing that today.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was weird. So the bottom 5 things, like the hills for me is definitely a bottom number 1. The museum was not fun. That was probably the bottom number 2. The bottom number 3 would be the Uber drivers. We got honked at. It's just been scary. We did meet the guy from China on the way to dinner last night.
No, on the way to the comedy show. Wasn't it?
Oh, I thought he took us to dinner.
Did he? Oh, maybe.
No, he took us to the comedy show. Yeah. Because he parked there and we got out across the street. But yeah, that guy was from China. He was pretty interesting, and it was pretty fun talking with him.
Yeah.
Telling us his story a little bit. Lumen Field for me, that tour was pretty fun. Going to, the Space Needle was pretty cool. The comedy show last night, there were some good comedians up there, but the best part of that was like looking over at you and watching you smile and laugh. that was so fun just to see you laugh and being so cute. That was awesome. That was worth every minute of it, even though they're picking on me. So I clapped, and they're like, "Any ugly guys here?" So I started clapping a little bit, but half-ass clap. So one guy started kind of ripping into me, and then the other guy was asking me because something came up on my phone I had to pay attention to, and he's like, "Hey, guy, on your phone."
We were in the front, like one of the front rows, and Corey's on his phone texting
Well, this comedian
Very
was-
apparent.
Well, it's
So
better than
everyone
just-
behind us is seeing him just not paying attention.
Yeah, because this guy, he wasn't funny. It was better than like just walking out. He was just talking about how he was gay and how he thought he was gay. And he tried being gay, and then he asked me if I watched gay porn, and I was like, no. And he's like, why not? I was like, I don't know. It never crossed my mind, man. Like, why? I don't know. Like, I'm sure how to answer that, dude. Like, you're not funny. Like, can I tell some jokes for you? Give me your pen real quick. Let me write some for you. That's what I should have said.
Well, I enjoyed it. I thought it was funny.
That guy wasn't. But yeah, but other than that, though, the poncho guy, he was really funny.
Uh-huh.
He had some really funny lines. But yeah, so that was really a good time. Like I said, just seeing you laugh. And
I think I liked it because they're not famous people, and they all have like other things that they do. You know, this is probably just like a side thing that they enjoy to do.
Mhm.
I mean, we paid next to nothing
yeah,
to go.
like $10 a ticket.
It was not even, and I think our bar tab, if you want to call it that,
$6
was $6
for two coffees and a pop.
2 coffees and a pop. Yeah.
Like, that's crazy.
So, I mean, it's not like they're raking it in. And they were all like around and available afterwards if you wanted to talk to them or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I kind of did like acknowledgement head nod kind of thing, like good job or whatever. But
So the guy that said, hey, before you have sex with him again, make sure he watches gay porn.
no,
You're like giving him the head nod. Yep.
no, the guy with the long hair with the glasses that looked kind of funky.
Yeah.
It was wearing, and they were all just wearing like crazy, goofy, like regular street clothes. Like you would not have been able to tell if you lined everybody up and was like, who are the people that are going to be on stage tonight? You would not pick. You would not know who to pick. But I mean, yes, they do it because they like it. So that's why I really enjoyed it. That's the kind of thing I really like.
I was wondering too if they have bets with each other, because like I was thinking like the whole time, like, man, this would be funny if we got Justin and Adam and Mitch on stage and we like all gave each other shit to say, kind of like the 217 game, you know, where the Asian guy, he had to like shave his head, but not all the way, like just here. Like you got to shave your head and make up a story about it, or you got to talk about hooking up with old women.
Yeah, I don't know.
You know, because that would be fun, and just get up there and just make shit up, just tell stories that are funny.
Yeah,
we should do that.
Yeah, that was on one of my top things that we did. I'm not going to veer towards the. I think we covered enough of the negative stuff. My biggest plus for this trip would be the views in general. I know for you guys know from the first podcast, if you didn't hear that, our original room did not have the view that we have for the duration of the trip, but it is the most breathtaking view of like the city, the bay. It's amazing. And then that combined with what we've seen from this, the Space Needle, and even just driving back from the comedy club last night. In the Uber, I was like, this is gorgeous.
It's a beautiful skyline for sure.
Yeah. So that's like one of the total pluses that I think. And then we've been able to try a couple different restaurants. Mm-hmm. And not all have been A pluses. Kind of been like circumstantial, like this is where you're at, what's near here kind of deal.
Yeah.
And so, but we worked with what we got. And then, plus we don't know where you are. The more options you have, the more difficult it is to like look up the best whatever in Seattle. And then you end up with like 45 places and you're like, well, they're not all the best. And what is one person's best means another person's not best, obviously, because the pizza place we finally ended up making it to yesterday was a flop.
Yeah. That was 2 days ago.
2 days ago.
Yeah, it was not good.
Was it 2 days? Yes, it was 2 days ago. Yep, you're right.
I had the name of it, but I just threw the receipt away because I was going to rate them on Google, and I thought that's just not nice. Because the pizza was not cooked. Like, it was...
Was it Bambino's?
Something like that. It was horrible. It's just horrible. It's like, you want a box? And we're like, no. Like, clearly, like, the toppings were, like, picked off. Like, she could tell we didn't like it. I mean, it was not good. So that just kind of led me to believe, like, okay, well, Seattle, they're not really known for their pizza.
No.
They're known for fish and stuff, so they just don't cook pizza well.
Yeah, so... But we have had a couple different... We had some Thai food at a restaurant that was interesting. That was good. And then we had Mediterranean before we went on our tour underneath the streets.
Isn't that guy? We saw there was a couple of homeless people that definitely had, and this is my view as a radio broadcaster, professional opinion, they had mental problems. Like, they didn't look like they were on drugs. They didn't look like they were drunk. They just looked like they had mental problems. And was that caused by the drugs or alcohol? I don't know. But it just kind of made me sad. Like, as a society, we just give up on these people. But I mean, you can't really tackle them and take them away. Coming to take you away. Ha, we're coming to take you away. Can't really do that to them. Can we? You know, they would be safer, I'm sure. But
no. There's, I mean,
it's a tough one.
As somebody who does have some formal education on mental illness, I can tell you that there was definitely some individuals that were suffering from schizophrenia, maybe bipolar, but yeah, it was pretty sad. And like you said, whether there is any of that is substance related, very well could be, but probably a lot of them not so much. Yeah.
It's like, where's their... Well, the one older black gentleman that was talking to everybody on the tour that we were on as we were walking the streets, like, I mean, I wouldn't say where's his mom and dad, because they're probably not on the earth no more, but the one lady that was sitting there, like, yelling at people before the tour, she's just sitting in the park, on the concrete, just yelling.
And this is intermittently between her talking. She's talking to herself as well at the same time. So lots of serious mental health. Not really sure how that's handled. It's sad to see, there was the one gentleman that was literally walking down the street with his pants at his ankles.
Yeah, you almost walked right into him.
He had no idea. Like, that's where it's like a safety thing. You know what I mean? That's where my concern is like, not so much that he's going to harm anybody else, but like, he could walk in front of a car easy. I mean, he had no real, I don't even know if he knew where he was.
Should we have like stopped and said, hey buddy, let's get them pants up?
No, absolutely. I mean, no, that's not, I wouldn't feel comfortable doing that.
Right.
Because that's unpredictable, and you don't know, he needs help, absolutely, but you would think that the city, and maybe they do kind of redirect them towards, maybe there's shelters and things that they can decide if people need to be, hospitalized, or if that's a thing. I don't know. And maybe a lot of those people are not willing,
right.
I don't know, but it's a sad thing to see. And one lady was like putting like handfuls of, and it was baby powder. I saw it. It was for real, like out of the little squirt thing with the holes at the top, like put baby powder like in her hand and then all over her face.
Baby powder or baby lotion?
Baby powder.
Oh.
Like squirted it in her hand, a big thing in her hand, and then put it all over her face. The lady that had the headphones on. Yeah, and then one lady had a half gallon of milk just chilling in the sun, and like a half bag of ramen noodles open with like a blanket over her face lying on the bench.
Yeah.
It's just really...
Like, could we come out and say, look, we need to build a big shed. These people need to go there. And we need to help them there. Like, not just throw them in the shed and lock the door, but like, is it okay to take these people somewhere? Because it has to be better than what they're living right now, right?
Well, the thing is, too, is a lot of the people that have those mental health issues, I mean, medications can help them be able to function, but, they need to be assessed. They need to make sure they're clean if they are using anything. But those people look like they had not a penny to their name. Right. So, I mean, it's not even like they were any sort of kind of functional addict. I don't even know if they were not even begging.
No.
Like, that's the crazy part.
I don't know. It was just weird.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's Seattle in the nutshell.
Yeah.
In the nutshell. But it was a pretty good city, though. I like it. I don't think I could move here. The time being 3 hours behind, and then, I couldn't even imagine being 4 hours behind when the time changes. Like that's crazy, man. 3 hours behind, because what time is it now here? I don't know, 9:20. So it's 12. And you think, oh, okay, that's not too bad. But next thing you know, you look up and it's 5 o'clock there, and you're like, oh, the day is just kind of wrapping around to nope, everything's done. People are gone home. And we've noticed that a lot of, especially around where we're staying, a lot of the places, they do close early.
6 o'clock.
6, 7 o'clock. And I think people here go to bed earlier.
Yep.
I don't think they're out late. It's weird. Usually going for lunch or even breakfast, and there's a baseball game on. You're like, oh, that's the game from last night. And you're like, no, that's the game from right now. It's happening in New York. And it's just like, wait, what? Huh? It's very, very confusing. And I can't wait to get back to the Eastern time zone where it's normal.
I know. I miss home. I really do.
If you grew up here, I guess it wouldn't be that bad. But when you are like, wait a minute, like we got to get on the same time as like all the cool people in the country. And it's like, wait, what? And the Central Time Zone's probably one of my favorites because you don't have to wait as long, for your TV shows to come on, for your football to come on.
Really? That's why you decide that a whole entire living in an entire time zone would be beneficial, because you could base your TV time on it?
Yeah.
Wow.
Football's on at noon, not 1.
That's ridiculous.
It's great. When I lived in like Arkansas and Texas or whatever, like I wasn't that far off of the time zone, so it really was like not that much of a thing, except all my shows came on a little earlier. And
okay,
didn't stay light as long, but that's fine because Survivor came on at 7, not 8. But now we don't even watch TV like that anymore, so probably wouldn't matter. But yeah, so thanks for listening. We'll do another whole episode on time zones later. But I just wanted to throw that in there as one more thing about Seattle that was kind of not off-putting, but just weird. So thanks for tuning in. We're going to post pictures and some videos and stuff too of our trip. Took some really great pictures.
Yeah.
And overall, it was a really good time. It really was. Just be prepared. If you're ever going to come to Seattle, there's cool AA people here.
Yeah.
You're going to want to stay on the waterfront. But just keep in mind, there's hills.
There you go. Those are your tips.
So look up where you're going to stay and make sure all the stuff is right down the street. Not up the street, down the street.
There you go.
All right, thanks for listening.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.
Thanks for listening to the 217 Recovery Podcast. Win a bunch of free shit from 217 Recovery. Go to the app or the website, 217recovery.com.